All right, everyone, what's going on? Welcome to episode 6 of Last Take. It has reached December, which we just found out. We both just so happened to be wearing these Santa hats today. Luckily, it ended up being December 1st when we're filming this, so that's good. I'm Stanzo. This is Bert. Bert, how we doing?
Feeling good. Let's do it.
All right, beardless Bert. December, Santa hats on. Let's get right into it. Coronavirus is back in a big way in the NFL, so we'll start off with this Steelers-Ravens game, which just absolutely refuses to get played. Supposed to be the primetime game on Thanksgiving. It was our saving grace after suffering through the Lions and then the Cowboys playing. Just like everything in 2020, it was taken away from us or at least pushed back. So now, as of this taping, we're filming at about 8:30 on Tuesday night. It's supposed to be played tomorrow at 3:40. It looks like it's going to go on. Absolutely hilarious that we're getting a 3:40 football game because the NBC has the Christmas tree lighting. The Christmas tree in Rockefeller Center that no one's going to go see this year because of coronavirus. That takes precedence over what was supposed to be the primetime Thanksgiving night NFL football game. So it's just hilarious to me, perfect metaphor for 2020. But then the opposite of that is the Denver Broncos game went on as scheduled Sunday, despite the fact they literally didn't have a quarterback. Their entire QB room ended up being which one was the one that tested positive? Was it Jeff Driscoll?
Jeff Driscoll tested positive, then they had to quarantine the other two. And the biggest downer about it, and the reason why all of this is kind of bullshit with the NFL, is their negative tests came in on Monday, I believe. Monday morning or Tuesday. No, I think it was Monday because I didn't remember seeing it today. It was Monday that their negative test came in. So they have just, if they had done anything remotely close of what they have done for this Ravens-Steelers game, the Broncos would have had a quarterback. Because the other two tested negative. So Drew Lock was okay, and whoever their maybe if the other one's their backup. I don't know which one's the second and which one's the third string. But Drew Lock would have been able to play if they played their game on Monday. Or if they, God forbid, they didn't want to pair up Monday Night Football. There's no game tonight. They could have played it tonight. Yeah. So it's just really embarrassing. I think on the NFL's part that they bent over backwards for the Ravens and the Steelers, and to not even give the Broncos a fighting chance. Did you see that the Broncos wanted to start a coach?
Oh, is that a real thing?
That was a real thing. They filed with the NFL. They said it was their quarterback coach, their quarterback strength and conditioning coach. They wanted him to start the game, to start an NFL game. And NFL was like, no. So then they had to call up the guy from the practice squad and start him.
They should have allowed that, honestly.
They would have gotten that game some ratings. If that's what they're so concerned about. Are you kidding me? A coach?
I didn't watch a second of that game. I mean, other than what I saw on Red Zone, even Red Zone didn't really want to go there because that game had zero legitimate quarterbacks since Taysom Hill was playing for the Saints. He still stinks, by the way, even though he's playing well or whatever. I still think he stinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they started apparently some of the guys on the team didn't even know this guy who was on the practice squad, which
he hadn't met half the team. And he had no practice reps at quarterback. So it was essentially like you getting a phone call. No, I was going to say it was essentially like you getting a phone call right now and going to play for the Broncos, but he was on a practice squad and had played NFL and had played quarterback in college. So it's
that was a swing.
Not comparable at all.
I like the effort. Did you see Drew Lock's mom clapping back at the NFL on Twitter?
No.
She basically, it actually kind of made a lot of sense. I didn't read it, admittedly. It was it was a picture and you clicked on it. It was really long. So I was like, I'm not reading this. I was going to tweet out, I'm not reading this, but then I figured that would be pretty insensitive to the situation. So I waited until I heard someone else describe it. And essentially what she said was that the quarterbacks went to the Broncos facility, got permission from the team and the league to do so. Because they want to put in extra work, and they were her point was basically they could have done this elsewhere and kept it under wraps, but they wanted to be upfront about it, and they did it the right way, and it wasn't them going out to a bar or something and being infected.
Right.
It was just them putting in extra work and getting unlucky. So I did see your point. but too long for me to read on Twitter, so it went right over my head.
Yeah, if you're going to make a point on Twitter, you got to keep it. They say 140 characters, but let's be honest, I stopped reading after like 80.
I'm astounded when anyone reads any of my tweets that are a normal length. So if you think you can just because you're Drew Lock's mom, you can just put out long things and expect me to read it, I'm not going to read it. I'm going to wait for someone who has patience to describe it.
Absolutely. I go to the what I do when something's too long, I click on the tweet, scroll down into the comment section for someone to say, can you explain this to me? And then you hear one guy just like summarize it. And I'm like, thank you, because I was not reading it.
You ever see someone, like if they're in a Twitter fight and like someone responds with like a paragraph response, the best clapback ever is just when you see the person go, did not read. I die every time I see that.
Yeah. Speaking of tweets, I saw someone tweet out a picture. I forget who it was. It was someone on the Ravens or the Steelers, but they were like day 6 of this. Because it's been now 6 days since the Steelers and Ravens were supposed to play, and that immediately made me think of 7 Days in Hell. So we are this close. If something happens, if there's like snow or something like that tomorrow, we are this close to there being a second 7 Day in Hell situation, because it would have been a full week of the Ravens and Steelers not playing.
Oh my God. Yeah, that would be so good if there was like a 7 Days in Hell spin-off about like this whole Ravens-Steelers situation.
I'm sure Andy Samberg and Kit Harington can make that absolutely. I don't know how that would work because it's an entire NFL team and not 2 fictional tennis players, but I'm all in. Someone find a way.
We'll figure it out. So to segue to one of the games that actually did happen on Thanksgiving, the Washington football team absolutely kicked the Cowboys' dicks in at home, taking control briefly of the NFC East, or NFC Least as it's referred to some. I prefer NFC Beast. So the Cowboys are done, essentially. They are terrible. I don't know how people thought, and I know it's a hindsight is 2020 thing, especially with Dak being out, whatever. That team is terrible. Their defense can't stop a cold. It's actually unbelievable that they had this much hype around them going into the season. Antonio Gibson is a stud. Washington's defense makes me think that they're good. And Alex Smith is the classic guy who he's not going to win you a game, but he's not going to lose you the game.
Man. Yeah. So modern day Sam Bradford. Or I guess they were coming up at the same time. So
Alex Smith was
he outlasted him to get compared to him.
Yeah, he was drafted like 3 years before Sam Bradford. But yes, I agree. I get your sentiment.
The game manager, the guy who's going to complete 60 to 70% of his passes, and just not turn the ball over and just be special in that way.
I feel like Matt Hasselbeck was that kind of guy. Am I wrong, or was he better than that?
No, Hasselbeck was pretty good. He can make deep throws. More so, he towards the end of his career, he kind of became a game manager, but he was always someone to take chances. Mm-hmm. But going off the Cowboys and everything, Zeke is like bad. Like I am starting to think that there's like issues. Like every time Tony Pollard runs, he looks like a lot better than Zeke. Mm-hmm. Sorry. But I mean, Zeke has like 6 fumbles now this year in 11 games. He lost 5 of them. And every time it seems like the Cowboys are going to get going, like he literally fumbles. So like it was at the beginning of the second half for the Thanksgiving games, but I've seen other times where it's like they just scored, they get a stop, and then Zeke gets the ball and he fumbles. And it's just like it happens all the time now. And like that offense is supposed to run through him, especially how much they're paying him, and it's just not happening. So I mean, they have a big problem to address with him coming into the offseason. I think that's something that they got to look at to see if Zeke is worth keeping on their payroll anymore, because he doesn't look good. He doesn't even like find space anymore. He doesn't make people miss. He doesn't hit the holes hard. Like he just doesn't look like a good running back anymore.
Yeah, no, definitely the latest example of don't pay a running back. Speaking of another team that is missing a running back, literally, not metaphorically, like Zeke is missing. The New York Giants continue to roll on, now first place in the division, unstoppable juggernaut of a team with a convincing 2-point victory over the Cincinnati Bengals on the road. In all honesty, the Giants in this game looked awful on special teams, allowing a kick return touchdown in the first quarter, and then a punt return that nearly lost them the game if they hadn't bailed out by the defense, which was unbelievable all day. Getting pressure on, I don't even remember the Bengals quarterback's name. What was that guy's name? Brandon Allen, one of the Allens. Yeah, that guy stinks. He is terrible at football.
Brandon Allen sounds like a bad quarterback name. You know what I mean? It sounds like someone who was drafted in like the second round, went to like some like decent college and had some FBS record that they talk about all the time. and then they're like, oh, well, he was pretty good in college. And then he comes in and just like, oh, okay. That's why we've never heard of him, because he took 7.
Yeah, no, he was god awful. But the Giants defense is legitimate. You know, it's not just because it was the Bengals and Brandon Allen they were playing against. They've really shown all year, aside from the 49ers game, that they can stand up to anyone and keep the team in the game. And then Daniel Jones looked unbelievable in the first half. It was, one of his better halves he played all year. Evan Ingram, of course, fumbled to ruin what would have been another scoring drive for them. And Hurts' hamstring apparently avoided a major injury, which is big because from what we saw from Colt McCoy, the Giants don't have a prayer of winning the division if Daniel Jones is out for a sustained amount of time. So it looks like he probably will be out against the Seahawks, which would have been a stretch of a game for the Giants to win anyway.
Yeah.
But overall, you got to be encouraged if you're a Giants fan. Just being able to stick out that win without your quarterback and with the hole that special teams kind of put you in all day. It was a good feeling to get that one, even though it was a lot closer than a lot of people would have expected.
Yeah, I can say from personal experience with hamstring injuries, I heard it my sophomore year of college. I don't think I officially tore it, but it was pretty bad. Like I felt the pop and everything. So I would argue it was probably strained of sorts. And I think they officially called his a strained hamstring, which I think is where it pops, but it doesn't come off the bone entirely. So I think that his timeline to be 100%, I would say, is probably about 3 weeks. But he can probably come back and play, obviously with professional treatment and everything. I'd say probably in about 2. So yeah. I think he'll be good to go soon.
I think the thing is, I think he probably will try and test it before, and he'll come back before he's officially supposed to, which kind of scares me a little bit because even on Sunday he tried to stay in the game. He made one throw off that back leg, and he was like, "Nah, I can't do this." I saw a tweet. Apparently, when he was at Duke, he broke his clavicle and returned to practice 9 days later, and only missed like 2 or 3 games. So like, he's clearly he's a tough dude. He's going to try and stick it out. It just worries me with it being not only his plant leg, but just, how much of a part of his game scrambling and being able to pick up first downs with his feet is. It does worry me a little bit that he's going to try and push it back too soon and end up really, either not being effective or just injuring himself worse. But, we'll see what happens with that.
I mean, yeah, the Seahawks game is going to be tough win anyway. So I feel like you might as well let him get healthy. Not that you ever want to throw away a game, but if you're not going to have a healthy quarterback in there, what are your chances of winning anyway? So you might as well roll with Colt McCoy in the time being, and hopefully he outperforms what you think. But I would say Daniel Jones is probably going to be out for 2 weeks minimum.
Right. So to round out the NFC East, we talk about the Eagles matching up with your Seahawks last night in just an ugly Monday Night Football game. Carson Wentz stinks is the takeaway. He's legitimately one of the worst quarterbacks I've seen in a long time. He was missing wide open throws. But my other takeaway, and I'll let you talk about this, Pete Carroll is an absolute enigma. I mean, what is he doing? They have the ball on the goal line, 3rd and 4th down. He's putting it in the hands of Carlos Hyde and running the ball twice. Like, you have DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett, you have Russell Wilson. Like, why? I don't understand. Like, he tries to just always get so cute and think he needs to outsmart everyone. Like, sometimes in the NFL, if you're just better than a team, just fucking play to your strengths. Like, it makes no sense to me.
So I'll explain it, and it goes back because I think he honestly has PTSD from the run or lack thereof run from the Super Bowl. So it comes from the idea that in that play, he wanted to avoid being predictable because he thought everyone in this building knows I'm going to run the ball with Marshawn Lynch. So I'm going to throw a slant over the middle because the defense is going to be crashing and he's going to be wide open. Patriots, though Belichick was probably thinking the unpredictable and was obviously ready for it. So he prepped his defense in such a way. And obviously it didn't work out. So I think ever since then, Pete Carroll either doesn't know when to be predictable and doesn't know when to be unpredictable. Wait, did I say it? Doesn't know when to be predictable, doesn't know when to be unpredictable. So he is like, he's always trying to decide, and he is stuck between the two. And I think that when he decides to try to be unpredictable, he doesn't understand that you just have to do the opposite and just run a general play. Ideally you would have on the goal line with just like a regular slant pass. So now when he tries to be unpredictable, he tries to do, like you're saying, some cutesy, dumbass play like a forward screen pass to David Moore, when all you have to do to be unpredictable, everyone's expecting a run, just throw it to Tyler Lockett, throw it to DK Metcalf. They're going to catch it. You know, like we're like, I think we were the best team in the red zone this year. And that's mostly for the fact that we score from like the 10-yard line, and it just, he throws either a fade to Tyler Lockett, or he throws a fade to DK Metcalf, or a slant to DK Metcalf, and they catch it because they're really good receivers. And that's all you have to do.
Yeah. But like,
it stems all the way back to the Super Bowl. They've been calling those weird-ass plays for years.
But the crazy thing is, and I totally get where you're coming from, and I 100% think that is what's going on. But, like, the reason he got hammered for that in the Super Bowl is because Marshawn Lynch is a probably Hall of Fame running back. You have the ball with him on the one. Running it there with him would be playing to your strengths. So, like, now you have the ball, you know, inside the 5. You have Russell Wilson, who is unbelievable quarterback at scrambling and creating and, you know, even picking up the touchdown with his legs if he has to. Tyler Lockett, who in those short goal situations seems like he's great at just getting himself open because he'll just outlast whoever's covering him. Or DK Metcalf, who, worst case, you throw up a 50-50 ball, he's probably going to come down with it because he's absolutely huge. So, like, go to those guys, not your journeyman second-string running back running it up the gut behind a poor offensive line. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So, I don't know, it's frustrating. But at the end of the day, their talent did overtake them. Because the Eagles are terrible. Did you see
it's hard not to overtake that team.
Did you see the Jim Schwartz DK Metcalf story?
Yeah, that he said you're Megatron, but you're not yet. And it's like, why would you give that guy fuel? Are you kidding me? He went off for 11 catches, 175 yards. Like, are you kidding me?
If you want to say that, like, say it after. Like, I had people responding to it, and I was like, that was dumb. People were like, well, he's not Megatron yet, so he's not wrong. He's like, yeah, no shit. He's not, like, it's not about being right or wrong, but why would you give a professional athlete that level of motivation to, like, either way, it's a dig at him. Like, if you're saying you're not at this level yet, like, they're going to take it personally. He literally responded to Michael Jordan, and I took that personally to the story.
Yeah, it's one thing if you want to say that shit to, like, David Moore, Tyler Lockett, like, you're not Megatron, like, you know, it was kind of like you're close, but you're not. But, like, essentially saying you're not Megatron, like, if you want to say it to one of those guys who's not going to, like, take over the game, like, DK Metcalf, you're saying that to him for a reason. He's going to take over the game. Like, why would you give him anything more?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a classic Philadelphia situation, just not knowing, like, how to control anything.
Also, I found this out today. How about the fact I didn't even realize that the Eagles put up a statue of Peterson and Foles calling the Philly special the Super Bowl outside the stadium. Like, it's already there. So they already ran their Super Bowl winning quarterback out of town. And there's a decent chance, I feel like, Peterson has to get fired. If not this year, then soon, the way this team is trending. So, like, I feel like they really jumped the gun on that whole statue thing.
I mean, yeah, I think that it was just because that Super Bowl meant so much to them because, I mean, they beat Brady. They hadn't won in a long time. I mean, was that their first ever?
Yeah, that was their first one ever.
Yeah, so at first Super Bowl, you beat Brady. I mean, like, I get it, but, like, also I get it, but, like, why not make it like of like Nick Foles catching the Philly special? Why calling the play? I don't know. I feel like it's a kind of a weird statue. You know?
Yeah, I don't. It's just like,
if you're gonna have the statue, I feel like make it something cooler than the play call.
Doug Peterson just this year, he's like absolutely shattered. He had this reputation of being this like crafty, like bold coach, and now like we saw them punt the ball in overtime against the Bengals instead of going for the win. And now like he's sensing that the blame is coming down on him, and he's just like, he can't take it whatsoever. Like, he was happy to accept the fact that he was this great coach that led them to a Super Bowl, somewhat unexpectedly, but now that they're not doing well, he just can't handle it. It's like, it's really pathetic, but it's hilarious to watch.
Oh, it's hilarious. And I don't feel bad for the Eagles at all because they took that Super Bowl and rubbed it in everyone's faces.
Oh, no, I hate the city of Philadelphia, so I'm genuinely enjoying what's happening now. But just to round out the NFL, Titans pound on the Colts in a matchup of, I think, the two most unpredictable teams in the entire league. I mean, maybe throw the Packers in there too. But I genuinely don't know. Like, do you think the Colts or the Titans are good? I don't know. I don't have an answer.
For a long time, for I guess the first 10 weeks, I thought neither were good. And then the Colts beat the Packers, and I'm like, oh, the Colts are good. And then the Colts lost to the Titans, so now I'm confused again. So I don't know what's going on at all because everyone said that the Colts had the best defense in football, and then Derrick Henry ran for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I still stand by that the Colts, I think, are the better team of this. I don't know because they didn't have DeForest Buckner, which is kind of like their big guy on defense. So maybe they could have a comeback, but I also don't think that one guy, especially like who's on your line, should have that big of an effect that you should give up 45 points. So I don't know. I stand by that both of them are confusing, but the Colts, I would say, lean more towards good than bad.
I think they might have been missing another starter or two on defense. I'm not 100% sure on
I know
that.
they definitely were missing Buckner, yeah.
No, I mean, they're both I think they're both similar to the Titans last year. I could see them going to like the AFC Championship game, or I could see them both, failing late and like missing the playoffs in the AFC because it is going to be a pretty crowded picture.
I also just don't see any Phil Rivers-led team being successful. They could win the Super Bowl, and I was still going to think of Phil Rivers as a joke. Like there's something about him that just like doesn't seem like a winnable guy. Like he definitely doesn't have any like X factor to him. He's just like a very plain quarterback. I know like his stats say otherwise in certain years, but like there's just something so plain about him that I'll never see him as someone who will be successful.
It's definitely the fact he doesn't curse. That's definitely at least part of it.
Yeah. He doesn't have that edge. You can definitely see that and hear it when he says things like, "Oh, darn it."
Yeah, it is getting to the point now that Derrick Henry just doesn't get tackled. Like once it hits like mid-November, he just refuses to go down. It's actually unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. I mean, I like seeing Derrick Henry succeed. Do you remember like the first like 3 years, they were like, "Oh, Derrick Henry can't catch," so they had to keep on like starting running backs over him, and they would just have Derrick Henry be the number 2. And then last year they were like, "Okay, fine, like we have Deion Lewis, but like we'll also run Derrick Henry a little more," and then he ran for like 7,000 yards. Everyone's like,
yeah, they were playing
a good idea.
DeMarco Murray, which is like unbelievable to look back on.
Yeah, so stupid. Like how do you not give the guy who's literally standing there like this and runs like a 4.4 like a chance? It took 3 years to do that.
Also, unexpected stat I saw. The overs in Titans games since Ryan Tannehill became quarterback are like 17-3, which you wouldn't anticipate considering Ryan Tannehill is not like a guy that lights it up and they run a lot with Derrick Henry. But yeah, I don't know if the overs hit, I guess. I don't know if it's just that they score more than people think and Vegas hasn't caught up or what.
I think it's also the fact that when you think of a run-first offense, you don't think as much as like point scoring, but like Derrick Henry scores a lot. So like, I mean, if you think someone who's going to score 2 touchdowns and a quarterback who's probably going to throw for at least 2, I mean, that's minimum 28 points,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I can see it.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to add the fact that although the Texans played a good game on Thanksgiving, as usual, Will Fuller's out for the season. He has a knack for just finding ways to just ruin everything about his season, whether it's an ACL. This year, it was an accidental PED suspension, 6 games, which, I mean, the Texans aren't making the playoffs, so he's pretty much out for the year. Did you see his Instagram?
Yeah, another post that was too long for me to actually read.
So I read it, and he said essentially that I took a doctor, like I took a prescription or like I took some medicine, whatever it actually was, from a doctor that I trusted. I no longer trust him, and I apologize. So it was kind of like the Rafael Palmeiro and every other steroid excuse. Maybe that's actually what happened. I doubt it, but Will Fuller just finally, when you think he's healthy, he's not.
No, that's like last year Golden Tate missed 4 games because he said he was taking some fertility pills, like trying to help like his wife get pregnant. Look, they're all lies. Like, I don't believe a word out of Will Fuller's mouth or any athlete's mouth. I just wish for once they would say, yeah, I took steroids because they helped me get bigger, faster, stronger, do my job better, and make more money and put us in a better position to win. Like, honestly, just say it at this point. Like, I get, like, I'm not going to respect the fact that you did steroids, but, like, be straight up with me one time. Like, there's no, like, what? You think that your doctor is just going to really give you something that is going to make you test positive? Like, you don't think that they, like, players don't look at the banned substance list to make sure they don't get suspended and lose, like, a portion of their salary? Like, no, they fucking know exactly what's going into their bodies and what they're taking. I don't buy for a second that some random doctor's just pushing some supplement on them that's on the banned substance list, and Will Fuller has no idea what's going on. It's such bullshit.
Yeah, I also think, I mean, this is another video for another time, but I also think it goes a lot deeper than that. Like, I'm pretty sure the Texans know everything that goes into every one of their players' bodies, especially someone who they invested heavily in. I mean, they traded DeAndre Hopkins, so they clearly wanted Will Fuller to take the lead as that number one. So I don't think that there was a second of that offseason that they didn't know what the hell was going on with him. And maybe that it was because it was a Bill O'Brien run organization at the time and it was a crapshoot. But I don't think there's a second that they didn't know what the hell was going on. And I think that they have a lot of the blame to do with this. And they were totally like, fuck it, let's see if we get caught or not, you know?
Maybe that's why he just got caught. I don't think Bill O'Brien knows what steroids are. I think
that's what I mean.
He may have just been introduced to the concept of weightlifting like last year, so there's no chance he's gotten around to steroids yet. So once they fired him, that's when Will Fuller was introduced to steroids, and that's where this whole fiasco started. We can only speculate.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien's like, holy shit, these make you like stronger and faster. Use it. That's sick. Like, why has no one thought of this before?
Like, wait. Bill O'Brien's watching Long Gone Summer. He's like, this was awesome. These guys are great. And they get to the end. They're talking about the stories. Like, wait, you can take a pill for this?
Someone write this down.
Write this down.
Yeah. Well, I feel bad for Deshaun Watson. Because, I mean, he's just a stud, shitty organization. Now he's got to deal with one less receiver. And they just released Kenny Stills, too. So now he's got Randall Cobb and Brandon Cooks. So good luck, guy.
Yeah. But, all right, so that's it for the NFL. Not really too much otherwise around sports. We'll talk college basketball once we actually get into some conference play here. I know Duke, Michigan State is tonight. Probably going to lose money on Michigan State the way it looks right now. Kansas, Kentucky later. Only other thing we're touching on. So the non-tender deadline for Major League Baseball, is that tonight at 8? Did it pass?
I thought it was December 2nd.
Okay, yeah.
I thought I saw December 2nd.
I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow too. Okay, so non-tender deadline could apparently speed up the free agency process once teams have a full picture of who is and isn't going to be available. Ken Rosenthal said it might not. I kind of side with him that I think certain teams are still going to be slow to spend and see what kind of bargains they can get when they wait it out, because a lot of the owners are going to cry poor after a season without fan revenue. But I do think teams like the Mets and hopefully the Yankees, once this non-tender deadline passes, are going to start making some moves. We already saw the Mets sign Trevor May today. But I think you and I are probably going to film tomorrow, I think, a video predicting some of the top free agents, where they're going to land.
Yeah, and going off that, I think that it's going to be – I think you're going to see more this year, and it's because of the Mets and their urgency to sign some of the biggest guys that a lot of the other teams are going to try to get a move on it a lot quicker, because they know that Steve Cohen is probably, if he hasn't already, is going to start making calls to these agents and offering a lot of money right away, because, I mean, he's ready to go. So I think that's going to put a lot of pressure on a lot of guys and a lot of other teams to make decisions quick. So I think because of Steve Cohen's presence, like the waiting until spring training for guys to get signed, like we had to with Machado and Harper, isn't going to be the case this year.
Yep.
So I like the fact that he's going to move the needle a little bit. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the offseason, and that video is coming soon.
Yep. I think you're going to see a lot of guys too, like how the Yankees are always linked to these guys that they never really end up, doing anything more than maybe kicking the tires on. Like this offseason, it's already saying that they could be a potential suitor for Yadier Molina. Like in the most obvious, like he's going back to St. Louis, but wants them to up his salary a couple million.
Yeah, exactly.
He says he's going to the Yankees. I think you're going to see a lot of that with the Mets too. Guys who are linked to them that maybe they don't actually have too much interest in, just to try and maybe increase the dollars on that contract.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be good. And you're going to see all of our predictions for all the top 20-ish free agents and where they're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll see you guys next week.
All right, later, guys.
Oh, and like, subscribe, comment. You can call us if you want. You don't have my cell phone. You're not going to get it. But
I'm going to send a candy cane to every new subscriber in December.
Yeah, and I'm going to send a heart like it's Valentine's Day. So be mine.
I'm actually going to we're going to send a firecracker popsicle because we're a couple months behind.
With or without the joke on it?
With the joke.
Okay. All right. You're getting a cracker, popsicle cracker. What is it?
Box of Cracker Jacks, I think I said.
Box of Cracker Jack. with a joke. All right. Have a good night.
All right, later, guys.
Whatever.